Then let me ask you the first question. I mean, and it's actually along the lines of these being a student athlete because you've competed at one of the top NAIA programs, as it is Kaiser University, and now you coach at one of, or assistant coach at one of the top NCAA D2 programs. So, in your perspective, what are the biggest differences that you've seen between these two programs?
I mean, the biggest one, and I think that's the main one I see, is us at Drury having our own facility, our own pool, allows us to give our student athletes a variety of different schedules based on their needs. Since we don't have to worry about public using our pools, we can just have them. If they need to come in early, they just let us know. We show up early for them. We have a practice for 1, 2 kids. If they have class conflict or they have to work or leave for different school activities, so we try to tailor everything towards their academics and their schedule rather than this is the pool space we got from the city. So it's a little bit helpful in that regard. But then also, being one of the top D2 programs and having the history that Drury has within the swim team and within the Drury's athletic department, we got a very good treatment and we got a lot of help from the department as well, from the athletics, to make sure that both Coach Patrick and myself have that support that we need to be able to keep the team as competitive as Brian wants it to be. So it's a good all around support system that we have here, and a great system that actually Brian was able to set up for the students here.
What would make a swimmer stand out during this recruiting process, in your perspective?
I mean, obviously, first of all, we are all involved equally. I think that's what makes this team one of the best ones, that there is not a single person who does more in the recruiting side. So everybody gets together to make every single decision as a team, what's best for the overall team. But common things that we run into is this athlete actively competing as he speaks to us, or planning to compete anytime soon? When was their last swim meet? Then what are their communication skills? Is it one of those athletes that sends you an email, you respond immediately because of the interest, and then you never hear back from them? Or are they even excited to talk to the coaches? Because I know, this is a nerve-wracking process. It's one of those that changes your life. If you're international, this is a commitment you're doing for 4 years to leave your family and friends behind, old lifestyle. If you're from the US, it's a little bit easier, but still, it's a very big financial commitment on the American side. But in general, it's a very big sacrifice from the family as well. So the questions we run into is, are you even excited to go through the process? Are you more nervous than wanting to go through it, or is it just those first nerves of, oh wow, this is actually happening? Because there is a difference between those two, and there's a difference with how those kids approach us. It happens many times that they are so excited that you just have to calm them down and just go through the process and go step by step, almost like when you're doing a presentation in class. But then there are those other moments when these kids, you have to get the words out of their mouth, and it's very, very hard to make the conversation more like a friendly conversation rather than a job interview. So we put those two into, we blend them and see what are the best things for Drury. Obviously, we put a lot of effort into what the person is. Do they fit here as a person or not? Luckily for us, usually the answer is yes, because we are so internationally represented here that there are so many people from different places. So you find your person regardless of who you are. But it's, are you active or not, basically.
What would be one of the biggest mistakes that you've seen from, during that recruiting process from one of these swimmers?
I think the biggest one is, and I'm a little bit more picky on this one because I'm from the NAIAs. So I'm from the what's considered, the lowest of the lows divisions of swimming. But when you check the times, those times say otherwise. But in general, this hope for a D1 offer. So everybody talks to you, and then whether you're an AIA or you're D2, D3, this ghosting for the hope of D1, and then you closing a door behind you that could have been a life-changing opportunity, and now you either have to wait for that D1 offer that maybe never comes, and you end up going to an even lower division than D2, or you end up going to a lower team than the one you've been talking to, or you just don't get the offer that you originally were pitched because you said no the first time around, and then 6-7 months later when you come back like, hey, it didn't work out, is that offer still on the table? Usually the answer is no, because the money is gone. So
Exactly.
This saying no to that offer, to that opportunity is the biggest one. But then also we have the more like not paying attention to the details, like addressing the wrong school or the wrong coach in the recruiting email, which usually, unless you're a superstar, usually that's a big no already in some of the coaches' eyes, or just making us do the extra work in terms of you send us the intro email and there is no links to your swim cloud or your swim rankings profile, and there are no times whatsoever, or GPA even on your intro email. And we understand there are academic athletes and there are the athletes. So, but regardless of who you are, those are some key information that should be there to begin with.
Do you get a lot of individual swimmers more than, agencies or agents contacting you guys? Or would you trust more of a swimmer that just emails you more than just an agent, maybe? Or 50-50, or just out of curiosity here?
So we do get a large amount of agency kids,
Yeah.
but also we get our fair share of individual, and we also do our own, research and send out obviously a large amount of emails as well. But on my end, when I did my journey, I did it by myself, no agency. So we were a couple of friends who just did it by ourselves. So we made our mistakes as well, but for some reason, I trust more those who do it themselves because they already putting in the hard work to try to get here. Obviously, doing an agency is great, but it's a huge financial commitment, and there is nothing wrong with an agency because they make sure you don't run into mistakes. You don't make any mistakes. They make sure that everything you and the coaches talk about is being followed up on, and they protect you basically. But there is one of those things that you're bubble wrapped, you're protected, and you don't learn anything from being in an agency besides the information and the mistakes the agent gave you and made prior themselves in their recruiting process. So, it's great to have the agents because they actually help and they know what's going on. But I trust more those athletes who go through themselves
Put
and
the
ask the hard questions themselves rather than the agent.
Is there something that coaches notice immediately that maybe the swimmers or these recruits don't even realize, when they contact you and they're showing?
Yeah, something that we see sometimes is whether they are already here or they are through the process is the path that they're going on. So you can sort of tell by conversations or through their behavior in person that what's going to happen. So you sort of get the idea and you can try to steer them in the right direction to avoid making mistakes. Some of them, will listen, whether that's through the process or that's once they are here. And then unfortunately, there are those who will fall before listening to the new direction and the new way of doing something. And there is nothing wrong with either of them. That's two types of people that can be, athletes. Some listen immediately, some need to be making the mistakes in order to learn. But then obviously, both of them we sort of turn out to be right with almost everybody once we have that initial conversation with them, or once we see them here in person for the first time. And I would say, especially here, we had a good ratio of turning them to the right place and working with them through that.
If you could go back to your 16-year-old, what would be one piece of advice, that you would give it to yourself when you started your college swimming journey?
Yeah. So this is if it's strictly one piece of advice, would be just enjoy the journey. And that's about it. If it's literally just one piece of advice, obviously, if we have to go into a little bit more detail, there is the American culture of swimming. And that culture, at least in Hungary, doesn't exist. The being a team rather than a self, or cheering for each other, or the almost hands-on support of the coaches, that's something that doesn't really exist or existed back then in Hungary. So the first 2 years, I didn't take it in as much as I should have. And it took me until I got to Kaiser on my last year of college swimming. That's when I actually started to enjoy the journey the way I should have done from the beginning, letting the team aspect of the sport grab you and push you forward, and letting that team aspect make the college swimming what it should have been from the beginning. It's a different culture, different atmosphere, and it's something that American student athletes are used to since high school or even before. But for us, it's something that, we learn once we step on US soil. We don't know what it is until we're here. So it's exciting and it's different. So yeah, just that I wish I would have accepted what the college swimming is from the beginning.
I feel like lots of swimmers think that going to the US it's going to be the same as what they've been doing at home, swimming in a club team, more of an individual sport, but it's a different story, and I feel like it changes a lot once you're there. How do you compete with these D1 universities?
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're defending national champ, doesn't matter because it's D2, and there is this, cloud over D1 that's the best thing ever. But obviously, something that we try to do with them is, especially if we're talking about somebody who can make an impact in D2, is, do you want to be a superstar or just a number in somebody's spreadsheet in terms of how many people I have on the team? Because what for us is, what in D2 is a superstar, that in D1 is average. And as you know, especially nowadays, nobody wants average. They want top of the top. And if you're one of those that gets a lot of D2 emails, you should take advantage of that and enjoy that rather than being offended and upset. That should, you should humble yourself sometimes, but it's hard because everybody thinks that they are the best. Otherwise, why are you even competing? If you don't think you're the best at what you do, then, you already gave somebody else the win. So good for them, but you gotta try to be realistic as well in terms of, I'm the best within these parameters, but I'm not the best outside of it, and that's okay. So yeah, we try to say you can be a superstar here in D2, and you can actually be, or just be part of somewhere that the coach may or may not know your name.